Jim Walmsley, l'athlète superlatif, à 34 ans, l'américain de Flagstaff qui possède plus d'une demi-douzaine de records de course et qui a enfin remporté son UTMB après, l'année dernière, 4 tentatives infructueuses. Jim s'aligne sur son 6e UTMB dans moins d'un mois et se dit autant confiant qu'incertain à l'approche de cet UTMB. Il se dit soulagé après avoir remporté sa 4e Western States récemment en signant son 2e chrono le plus rapide. Soulagé car peut-être l'adversité l'a aussi ramené à la réalité. Apparemment, il courra encore une semaine avant l'UTMB pour accumuler des kilomètres. Mais quand on lui pose la question de savoir s'il est capable de battre son propre record, c'est une réponse directe, oui. On parle de recettes de burrito, de préparation de France et de Beaufort, avec peut-être l'un des meilleurs sportifs de sa génération. Cadeau.
Hey, I'm Jim Walmsley. I'm a professional ultra trail runner for Hoka, and I'm here in Chamonix to do the UTMB again.
Okay. Sir, nice to meet you.
Good to see you again.
Thanks. Let's get back to the Western States. Your emotions seemed different at the finish line for your 4th victory. My first question would be, if you had to just choose one word, was it the pinnacle? Was it the culmination? Or was it just fun and cool to win?
It was relief. Yeah, relief is what I felt, I think.
Right.
And explaining on that was, it was the most back and forth I've ever had in Western States, and at points I thought I was done and that Rod was going to pull away, or just surprised to see myself on a pack of 5 at the bottom of Devil's Thumb. It was my first time going that late into races, that close to everyone. So it was a really cool experience, and to end up with such good legs at the end to finish and pull away, it was really great relief to hit the track and know that I pulled it off again.
And you were also with your friend Simon Gosselin.
Simon was with me about 2 months, like before. So he did some American trips during that time, but yeah, it was really nice to have the training block with him because he brought just this new awe and experience on everything that made a lot of my old training grounds like feel young and fun again to me. And I think that really brought like an energy to training this year that I'm really grateful for, because it just made training for Western States exciting and fun again. And without that, I think I would struggle more through the training block.
That's really interesting, because we are talking about friendship, but you were talking about rivalry, and you were speaking about Rod. Was it necessary for you to have such a rival, until almost the end of the race, to maybe bring you back to reality?
Yeah.
Because you could have been really confident at the beginning at the start of the race.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it took. It took my best day, and my 2 fastest times, I've had someone just right on my heels the entire day. 2019 was a similar experience with Jared, but Jared and I never saw each other. Where this one was very much like, oh no, and Rod was so efficient on aid stations that he was gaining so much time during that it made it very interesting. And yeah, it took my best to pull away from him that day.
Would you say that now, or I don't know, maybe since 2 years, 3 years, I don't know, that you're experiencing your finest seasons, your most wonderful seasons on an athletic, but also on a mental point of view?
I think mentally as an athlete, perhaps, because I think I'm entering a stage where maybe I don't have like my fastest workouts or this or that, but mentally I've matured enough that I feel like I can win in many, many more scenarios. And now there's more of a art that I feel like I'm perfecting to end up on top at the finish line, which it's a very big skill to figure out how to be first in a race that you line up in. Like, to win once or a couple of times is really good, and it takes someone of huge skill to do that, but to repeat it it's always like really rewarding that it feels like you're mastering something. And so I think that's where just mentally how I'm handling harder, longer ultras I've just developed a lot more that way, and therefore I've been able to now run faster and win in different scenarios.
And in order to reach that state of mind, was it necessary to win the UTMB last year? Like, you know, opening a door eventually, finally, to happiness and fulfillment?
I think on the
I have this image of opening a
but
door.
it's actually on the contrary. I think it's the failures that have finally opened the door, because it's taken like beating the manpower, self-will, hope that I can do what I want on the course, and giving up more that I need to react to where I feel good on the course and not just force my times and force my splits. So Western States was actually really cool, and a bit UTMB last year too. I know general time points of like time references at big checkpoints, but other than that, I'm getting more into a habit of not following pace, not following splits. And then also competitors really bringing their best days, and essentially now that's bringing out the best in me. But not relying on splits has really allowed me to focus more on my needs throughout the race.
1 month, so yeah, one big month, so you will be on the start line of your 5th UTMB.
5th or 6th, yeah.
I always
18.
I'm always making mistakes
21,
with the stats.
22, 23. All right, I've finished 3 times. I've dropped out 2 times, so I hope to not be 50-50.
So 6th UTMB. Do you feel stronger than ever, or at the same level of confidence and, I would say, athletic strength or mastership? Because you're more experienced. That experience is not 100% the key of everything.
Yeah, I would say the sport keeps giving me new training blocks, in that the scenario this year is very different than years past, and my reaction after Western States with my body has been different, and it's taken more recovery, and I've had more inflammation problems. So I'm trying to always look at positives with it, and that the recovery, like in years past, I know I've done too much, and I felt too good in between the 2 races, and then after winning Western States, I'd hit this low point in UTMB where I just didn't have the resources and freshness to push through and persevere. And it's the years where the last 2 years, I've focused only on UTMB, and I've been more fresh to be in a better position to take on those challenges. But this year I'm back to a different scenario, changing things with the fatigue of Western States and being beat up from that. So yeah, we'll see. I'm open-minded, I'm optimistic, and yeah, I hope, but at the same time, it's far from ideal. That's not giving me confidence that I had last year, which I think is a good position to be in.
Yeah,
I think being a little scared is a good thing.
So you're still a little bit scared, and I think
because I've had many low moments out there, and even last year was not perfect. I had low moments, and I still know the low moments will happen, and kind of how you react, how you can handle it, how you can change it, or is it a low moment that you're not going to pass this time? That's a fear too, because dropping, there's not many positives to take from a drop. You kind of need to forget about it and move on, and I don't want that. So I want to come in a place that I'm confident that I can persevere through the adventure and the challenge and the whole buckle. But yeah, I think it's never granted, like taken for granted that you can make it all the way back to Chamonix. Like there's so many strong favorites that don't. And the years that I have made it back to Chamonix, each one I feel fortunate to be one of the ones that did. Or I guess 2017 was really interesting. It was my first try, and it seemed like all the favorite. It was such a great addition because all the favorites were really competing well, and it's truly a classic in UTMB, I think.
Yeah, I remember the poster of the start line. Kilian and everybody. It was like a movie.
It was the first time a lot of people lining up together.
Yeah, it was like Sylvester Stallone and Jason Statham and Schwarzenegger.
Yeah. I think, let me see, 7. So out of the top 6, unfortunately, I think only 1 hasn't won UTMB yet. So.
But last year you discovered one thing. It's a private joke. It was how to walk with the sticks.
Yeah,
and I remember the sound you make. It was tick, tick, tick. Tick, tick, tick. In your words, mean to walk with the sticks.
Yeah.
Do you feel you still got your own devil, which would be to forget about slowing down and walking and just saying, okay, I carry back the sticks and I just want to run and let's go.
No.
And after, oh, I'm burned.
No, I think the process of trying to improve here at UTMB and improve myself to handle UTMB better has just made me much more open-minded. That has been so good for me as a development as an ultra trail athlete. And I guess someday if I get to go back to a race like Diagonale des Fous, which I think is more difficult, we'll see how much I've improved, because hopefully my comfort zone is now within handling UTMB, and I can continue that. My benchmark has now progressed forward, but yeah, then we'll see about doing more challenging races or further races to see, well, can I still grow in that aspect? Because I think growing in the true side of ultra is maybe where I'm not the most strong. So the running side of it comes more natural, and something that is something I obviously look forward to, and I very much like leaning into that strength. But at the same time, knowing some of my vulnerabilities with longer, colder, harder conditions, I really like challenges, and I think that's the only reason why I'm able to find successes with it, because I'm not as good as many of the competitors. I'm not from the mountains like them, so things don't come as natural, but at least I'm stubborn, and I tend to learn after a few tries.
Yeah, but you have never been such a mountain man than now, because now you can say that you're a mountaineer. You live in Beaufort, and you spend all
the Beaufortin has been a really rewarding experience, and something that I'm really grateful that Jess and I did together. And it's just, the experience has added so many skills of life, and then just perspective of life. Patient, slow. The mountains do what the mountains want, and you're kind of at the mercy of it. And also your mindset in good weather, bad weather, good times, bad times, it's your perspective of how you shift it to make the most out of what they give you.
That's also interesting, because you spoke about the way and the possibility of growing up like as a people, like as a person in ultra trail, and on the other side it's congruent with what you learned by living in the mountain in France, because it also learned you a lot of things. So it was Ludo Pomeray who showed us his ass. Thanks,
he kept it fairly PG.
Merci. Looking back, what would you point out as your worst and hardest moments? Precise, maybe anecdotes in your career, but moments that you still remind and use as lessons or safeguards.
One of the lowest moments, I think, is experiencing extreme heat stroke in 2017 at Western States. I was completely done. Couldn't control my temperature of my body anymore. I'd go from way too hot to shivering, to way too hot to shivering, throwing up every time I stood up. And that was maybe the first real lesson of that I'm not able to just force my will upon natural conditions all the time. And I think Western States can be more forgiving if it's a little cooler, but on a hot year, you need to respect that. Low moments at UTMB, I mean, I think I learned most from my failures. So let me see, what's been the lowest moment at UTMB?
And you keep that in mind?
Yeah, I think, yeah, it adds a little bit of the fear to respect the task you're trying to accomplish, which for me, a more conservative approach is good. And I think sometimes I have this ambitious ignorance that is beautiful, but at the same time, like doomful for me, in that it leads. And I even tell young runners that come in from more of a running track background, I always say, like, well, speed is a weapon, but it's also a curse, and that in ultra, it leads you down dead ends that you need to, if this is the way you're going to race, you need to be strong enough to go down the dead end, turn around and get back on course and keep going. But if you're not ready to do that, then the dead end will be the end of the race today. And you'll have to try again to find your way around the maze. But if you keep trying full speed, more than likely you're going to find another dead end, and you might have to go down a long dead end before you do it. And yeah, it's kind of like going full gas through a maze. You need to be more patient, and at intersections kind of assess the situation and what's going to be the most positive direction to move. And yeah, a good example this year at Western States, like I was having hotspot issues. I think my foot was probably picked up debris on the floor before I put my socks on in the morning, is kind of what I'm thinking, because I have so much experience in the shoe and socks I was wearing that it's a bit strange. But most days I don't run that far, so it might be common that I have some dirt on my foot, but I don't notice it during a 10-20K run. But when you go 160K, it will expose that. But I had the confidence, the experience to stop at certain points, assess, and know I need to change my sock, I need to change my shoes, and to continue to take care of those problems. I think it ended up being a net positive that got me to Auburn in a really good position, and then that kept me in the race. So that's a really cool story in that race, that I had the confidence to stop and change my shoes, not this young rush to go full speed again, and to make mistakes that eventually could be fateful for an ultra race. So that was a cool, like, looking back on that race was, I'm proud that I stopped and took care of what I needed to take care of. Because everyone else in the race was so dialed on aid stations. They were all so quick, and it's like, oh, I haven't been back to Western States in a few years, and the aid stations have gone a lot faster than when I was racing 3 years ago. So it's pretty crazy.
There was no problem with your pair of shoes, with your brand?
I don't know. I mean, they're prototypes, so sometimes something could have a little defect, but I don't know exactly what. I just know it was a bit odd, and my foot started to get hot, which could have become a big problem. So instead, I took more time to make it a little problem, and then eventually it became no problem. So
wisdom.
I think it was the right call.
Yeah, that wisdom.
Probably the lowest moment or the funniest moment at UTMB too is, I think, 2021. It's going up. I caught Francois after Cormier. I think he made a little wrong turn or something, because I caught him pretty quick. But then at the top, I was running behind him, and then he'd hike away, and then I'd run to catch up. He'd hike away. I didn't have poles that year. I decided not to do poles. And Francois was just burying me on the way up. And by the top, he had pulled away, and I was still in second place, not far behind, and I knew I was so done. Like, mentally, I had won Western States. I wasn't ready to go back to this. Energy felt too fatigued. And I started to go through my mandatory gear and put everything on. I called Jess, like, are you in Cormier? I want to come back down. No. She's like, I left. I'm not coming to pick you up. She's like, make it to La Foulée, and we'll see if you still want to drop. But in 2018, I went over La Foulée, and it was like so long. I was only walking. I knew I was dead. And then it took another hour to convince my crew to, like, let me drop at Champé-Lac, and like, they want the best for me and stuff, and to encourage me when I'm having low moments. But I knew this one was not going to turn around. And so she said, keep going. And then I'm like, all right. I put on all my clothes. I was walking. Courtney DeWalter comes running by. She's like, come on with me. I'm like, there's no possible way. And every guy here is like, the last thing we want is Courtney coming by and, come on with me. I'm like, oh, it's a lot harder than that. You're moving pretty good. And I got to our new boat, and then finally I found someone to take me all the way back to Chamonix. I was like, yes, sign me up, no problem. And so I took a ride back to Chamonix, and that was my day. I didn't want to go over Grand Col Ferret and do the long descent down. It was a rough day. But it was a thing, that was a turning point in the race. I knew I wanted to stop, we say, half-assing my commitment towards UTMB, and that was the mindset change of like, I want to move to France, I want to go all in, I want to go to the mountains. And I don't know, I think we visited Francois before the race, but we had been to Arash, had seen the mountains and done some, like, I think we went over and had tea with Francois, and yeah, you can feel it's a special place. So yeah, there was more, I would say, in the race of like, I need to go somewhere that's gonna make me improve on this goal and give me a chance to perform the way I want to perform here, and I need to stop doing Western States. It was quitting in that race, but also committing to a longer term goal to dedicate more to it, that I wasn't gonna let UTMB just beat the heck out of me again.
Wow, perfect answer. So precise. Two last questions. You feel you can improve on your record or the UTMB's record that year?
Yeah, I think there's room for improvement. I know I had a low patch that, I mean, I had a 15-minute swing with Zach. I think Zach was really strong and really consistent, and actually has better like consistency through start to finish in his race. We were pretty similar splits, I think. Like, I know we hit Courmayeur in similar times as I've always hit Courmayeur with Kilian, with Francois and stuff. It's a pretty fast pace, but it's like all-day pace that you can conserve. So you could be more aggressive, but it's more risky. But then I know I was like almost 5 minutes up on Zach, and then he got up to 10 minutes on me. So I think there's still a goal of avoiding low patches as much and smoothing out the race a little more. Or perhaps it's just too optimistic, and I know how, like, I need to know that low patches will come for me and that I need to just reduce my losses. But yeah, I think there's 15 free minutes if I can maintain a steady pace through there. So there's that. I think I finished really well last year, so I don't think there's time to be won there. So either start more aggressively, don't have low patches, and then try to just match the final 50K splits. I think that's what it's going to be. So it was a pretty good run last year.
Yeah, but you don't have to leave with, you know, stuck on the last year image.
Yeah,
it's a new UTMB.
Yeah, it's really nice that this year this race is annual, because it's amazing how fast this race comes back around, and I'm really happy that like we get to try to do this every year. It's pretty sweet.
So we also saw the Christophe Aubonnet's dog, so it's really moving around. The last question, maybe the most important, a double question. Did your project of a cafe burrito improved? And if you had to create a special UTMB recipe of burrito, what would be the main and the most important ingredients?
Okay, so simply answered, we have not progressed towards our cafe burrito in the Beaufortin burritos, copyrighted. Yeah, trademarked right here. But yeah, I mean, we're still trying to find out a longer term solution to rent in Arash, hopefully. So we'll see. We're working on that as a first dream and stuff, but we'll still continue to split our time, I think.
Beaufortin burrito, it's
perfect.
Sounding perfect.
Yeah, but we really like coffee, and we need a coffee place, and people need to talk about snow conditions together in the morning. It's really important, snow safety, for the community to have something like that, which they used to have with Café du Sport. But yeah, it hasn't been open in a while, so that would be pretty cool.
And yeah, that's special.
Yeah, the idea is growing. We're still working on the recipes, I guess. Yeah, because we need to figure out where to get our spices from, but I don't think spicy burritos will sell too well in the Beaufortin, like, in no way. So we have time for the spicy peppers. But then the second part was
the ingredients of a special UTMB recipe for a burrito.
I mean, the most important ingredient is the rice, but probably the trickiest to get here is the tortilla. So I think I've discovered I need to learn how to make my own tortillas. Then we can open a burrito shop. But I need to make my own tortillas from scratch and get a press and stuff.
So this is not the cheese. This is not the Beaufort.
Oh, there's good cheese here. Yeah, cheese is easy here. The rice, we can practice more, but I think it's possible. And then, but truly, the tortillas are not the same here. So we need to improve the tortillas.
Okay, that special edition UTMB
and
burrito.
It's a big tortilla.
It's a big tortilla. Nice. Okay, and there will be maybe sausage, French sausage inside.
Maybe.
It's a special edition.
Jess and I are vegetarians, so we don't do meat, but maybe a Beaufort cheese in the burrito would be quite nice.
Okay.
We have our own edition that way, because usually it's a Mexican cheddar cheese blend. But we'll keep orange cheese out of it, I think.
Wow, thanks for the privilege.
Yeah.
I wanted to wish you a spicy summer.
Thank you.
And a spicy life, but you know, as life can be. I mean, only happy, spicy surprises.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Take care, Jim.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Show me how to make moves and walk with the winners. Soon went to the pen, I never seen him again. But I did a couple shows with his friends. Lumberjack, brown clown, so-and-so, and dude with the orange pants. 10 years later, now I'm rocking the orange.